Congregation Agudas Achim honors a member each year with the Chesed Award, honoring the efforts of these people to create a band of brethren, an Agudas Achim. In 5774, the year of our centennial, we honor Marshall and Sandy Sack, longtime members, extraordinary volunteers, innovators, healers. It's been that way since 1971.
And we were taken under the wing of some really nice people, including the Stalls and the Rubinettes. Jack and Claire Seraph made us feel very welcomed here. And actually, Marilyn Stahl really became my mentor, and I got involved in volunteering here in a way that I never had before.
I remember my first contact at Agudas, or whether I've heard it so often from Marion Stahl that I've sort of incorporated and I think it's my own. I mean, some 43 years ago, and he still tells me, Marshall, says, I remember the first time I saw you. You were walking down the center aisle at Agudas with that black and white houndstooth sport coat, and your wife was pregnant out to here.
This is probably a little known fact, but something I'm very proud of. We developed, during the time that I was involved with it, we came up with the concept of having sponsors for bar and bat mitzvahs. And that, I think, has been incorporated in every congregation here in this city now.
I was asked to be chair of the Rabbinical Search Committee after Rabbi Fish left. And that was such a dreadful experience in many different ways that I said, I'm never going to be involved in synagogue governance or boards again. This is not my cup of tea.
But a cup of tea at the Friday night schmooze was a different matter.
Friday night was the big social event, and that was a big service. But we came frequently on Friday night, and it was a relatively short service. And then there was, the afterwards, where everybody stayed and schmoozed and ate and reconnected with our friends every week or every other week, how often we came.
Sandy, meanwhile, moved from religious education to the arts, extending the impact of Agudas's leadership to the entire community.
I had really the opportunities and the pleasure of getting involved in a number of things that are now part of our synagogues and also part of our larger community. The idea of having an arts program was something that I got involved in when we moved into this building. The film festival came out of that. Part of what we did at Agudas Arts was have some films. And so that was the genesis of that.
An offhand remark and an inspiring response from Rabbi Mark Sack.
I said, Rabbi, I wish that we Jews had a personal God that we could pray to and talk to. And he says, what are you talking about? Where do you think the Christians got the idea? And that was an epiphany to me. I had no idea that we as Jews could have that kind of a relationship with God. And I think that was the beginning of my understanding about my role in the community and in the synagogue, and my beginning to come back. Agudas is wonderful now. I love it here. But it wasn't always that way. And not so long ago, in recent, it was fractious, it was divisive, people left, there was anger, and it was a very unpleasant place.
Marshall learned about the Chazak program at a synagogue out of town.
So I called about 15 people, and I said, I'd like you to get together. I want to tell you about this organization. And we met, I think, at the J, and it was interesting what people told me. One person says, I don't feel like it's my place anymore. So I said, well, maybe Chazak is a way for us to connect. So we decided to start it, and within 3 months we had 120 members. And I mean, that just proved the need at that point in our history.
After Chazak was launched, the Sacks saw another gap that had to be bridged. Each year there were fewer members who knew the history of Congregation Agudas Achim. The History Project was born.
When the last of these wonderful mentors for us passed away, Naomi Wara, it bothered me greatly. And I said that although she and these other people are gone, they shouldn't be forgotten. without everything that everybody did along the way, and people need to hear those stories.
The History Project brought past presidents back to the pulpit to talk about the way things were and how they got to be the way they are. Critical historical materials were archived. Articles were written to promote a better historical understanding. A display was made commemorating the role of Jim Novy and Lyndon Johnson in the synagogue's history. The events reconnected Congregation Agudas Achim to the Johnson family. The culmination came with the centennial year when the tablets of the original synagogue building came home to Agudas.
We decided that our most illustrious past president is deceased, and we would honor his memory at a Shabbat. So Jim Novy's daughter and son-in-law, Morris and Elaine Shapiro, came to that Shabbat where we honored him. And Morris was looking at a picture of the San Jacinto Synagogue, and he pointed up to it and he says, he says, up at the top of that building were some stone tablets, and when they were the wrecking ball, they were tearing the building down. I said, don't tear down those stone tablets. He says, I'm taking them to the yard, meaning the scrap yard there that he owned. And he turned around and looked at the back courtyard and pointed out there and he says, they'd look pretty good out there. And that was the beginning of the whole thing.
The tablets were unveiled at a great party with music, dancing, and all of our religious school kids.
I can't describe to you the emotions that we had with this sort of thing. It was just wonderful.
The Sacks aren't standing still. They continue to grow in their participation and leadership.
I love the pageantry in the sanctuary, and I particularly love the processing the Torah around. I mean, everyone is standing in their pews, and the Torah comes around, and they leave their seats, and they gather around the Torah, and they kiss it, and they touch it, and they follow it around. I mean, that's just, for me, incredibly moving.
Some sweet things happened after that. We had the naming of our first grandchild here at Agudas because our kids had moved out of state and didn't have a connection to a synagogue. And my parents spent the last years of their lives here in Austin as well, and they found a place for themselves at Agudas and at the JCC here. So from, our children, grandchild, and our parents, we've all
4 generations.
Yeah, we've all
Sacks
had
have been involved with the synagogue.
a connection here.
And one of the reasons we moved is I had developed an interest in cooking. I didn't realize that was going to be a turf battle in the Sandy's kitchen, and our other kitchen was a lot smaller. So we moved here for a bigger kitchen, bigger work surfaces, so we could cook together.
You have to make that first step of showing up, jump in, get involved. Find a friend who is willing to work with you or somebody who's already involved with the project and let them know that you want to become involved. Think about a project that's not being done now that might improve life around here. There's still room for change, evolution, anticipating needs.
You have to just look around and say, it would be nice if we had this, or it would be nice if we did that. And it has to be important enough for you that you're willing to take the lead in doing that and recruiting some other people to help you with it.
Whatever the Sacks sort of put their mind to and put their energy behind is going to be a success. Because they have the heart and they have the wisdom, and the combination of both of those means success. They started coming to Kol Zimra right at the beginning and started coming to Sela right at the beginning as well, and both of those were, new innovations, and they were ready to just jump in and say, we love it. We want to continue to be creative and to think outside the box and create spiritual dynamism here.
And I give Sandy and Marshall much credit for galvanizing many people to consider that Chazak and other organizations and other experiences can help to continue to strengthen this community. So the fact that they may have been engaged or less engaged and have chosen to re-engage is a strong testament and a great inspiration for all of us, no matter who we are and in what years we're living.
somebody that likes to play piano. And that happened, hopefully, there won't be any kitchen accidents on this video.
Together, covering all the bases, heart, hand, and mind. Together, Marshall and Sandy Sack. Chesed.